summer of 2025 is stacked with some of the top movies of the entire year, and today I'm going to turn the most 4 anticipated movies of the summer into custom sneakers. Let's get into it. First things first, I need some shoes. And honestly, I'm very, very broke.
In terms of money, we have no money.
So, we're gonna go to the thrift store. We're gonna thrift out a couple pairs of shoes. We're gonna thrift out the 4 that we need for today's customs. And then we're gonna come back, prep them, clean them, and then paint them to look like the top 4 anticipated movies of the summer. So the shoes we're gonna customize for this pair is this Air Jordan 1 Carmine from the thrift store. As you could tell, they are very beat up. So the entire design of the sneaker, I'm gonna go with a toothless design. I'm gonna make the entire upper black and gray with scaling. Let's get into it. Okay, so first thing is to prep the Jordan for paint, which includes sanding and acetating down the leather so that the paint can properly adhere to the surface. Then I used the Angelus leather dye to paint a black base coat on the shoe to make the custom more durable. After dyeing the leather, I went over all the panels with regular Angelus paint, and here's how they're looking so far. I wanted to give the sneaker more depth, so I decided to use a stencil and gray paint to add scaling details throughout the upper. Alright, so I'm working on these Jordan 1s still. I intentionally left the back portion on the left shoe blank because I'm going to turn it into a burnt orange color like the other half of Toothless's tail with the Prada Burke logo on the back. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I then painted the back portion of the left shoe with burnt orange and used a stencil to add the Prada Burke logo. Now that all the airbrushing is complete, I used a fabric paint to fill in all of the red panels with black. And the final step was mixing green leather dye with Salon Care 40 to dye the outsoles a bright green to mimic Toothless's eyes. So the next shoe we're gonna work on is Jurassic World Rebirth. And for this one, I might have made a mistake.
You've made a huge mistake.
I bought a shoe from Goodwill and I didn't really realize how beat up it was because I really was just being ignorant. So I bought this shoe. It's just an Air Force One. Just an Air Force One. But I don't know what I thought the laces were doing. I was like, oh, they're just all bundled up together. This person made holes in the shoe to put the laces in off-white style. And I already bought them. They were $5 plus discount. So they were like $4 under that maybe. So when you take out all the laces, this is what it looks like.
Oh, hell no!
But, I have an idea. So, the new movie is focused on the new dinosaur character, the D-Rex, who's all mutated, and I'm gonna base this shoe off of the D-Rex, and I'm gonna make it look disformed. This is gonna be a trust the process type of shoe. But the first thing I gotta do is clean them up, and then we're gonna coffee dye them. So let's get into it. So same process as the last pair. First step is to prep the shoe with sandpaper and acetone. But for this shoe, it's a little bit different because I wanted to give them a solid colored outsole. So I got boiling hot water and coffee grounds in order to dye the entire shoe. And after about an hour in the coffee, I took them out and the color actually came out pretty solid and I was happy with it. I then taped off the outsole and got to painting. The D-Rex is mostly a slate greenish color, but it has dark brown fading around its legs and on the top of its head. So I painted the whole shoe a slate green, added some gray scales to the rest of the upper, and then used the cotton ball to give it a splotchy effect from the brown to the green. I also decided to add the classic Jurassic Park logo on the side of each sneaker. So now that the shoes are fully painted with the D-Rex design all over it, the next step is going to be the most controversial part of this, and I'm going to use the already punched out holes to put the rivets in to replicate the off-white lacing, because I figured since the D-Rex in the movie has like multiple arms coming out of him, he's very mutated, I figured why not make the shoe look mutated as well. So the next step is going to be putting in these rivets and then putting in the lacing, and we'll see how it looks. Hopefully it looks good, but we'll see. So I bought these boot rivets off of Amazon and hoped it would work. And to my surprise, it actually worked really well. All you had to do was put these 3 pieces together and hammer it down to keep it in place. But I was actually surprised. Once they were all in, they stayed pretty well and it actually looked pretty decent. Actually, one of the most difficult parts about this custom was picking the right lace combination. I had a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of different trial and errors, but I think the brown laces definitely fit the shoe the best. Alright, so the next movie we're going to work on is Fantastic Four: First Steps, which is one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year. And what better shoe to do it on than a Air Jordan 4. Of course, I got the most cooked pair of Air Jordan 4 white Oreos probably in the world, but I think I can make them look really good. But after I get the shoe all cleaned up, I'm going to make it look like they're Fantastic Four suits. So without further ado, let's get into this Fantastic Four Jordan 4. Let's get it. For this custom, prepping is very important because of the amount of different materials I'll be painting. The top of the wings and the entire midsole will need to be repainted, so they need to be properly prepped. And it was definitely very hard to watch these fours being stripped of all its paint. Alright, so now that the entire shoe is fully prepped, now I'm going to move on to the most challenging part, which is going to be making this back tab into a Galactus silhouette like his helmet. So I have a plan. I'm hoping it works. I printed out a stencil of the Galactus silhouette, and then I'm going to put it on the back, trace it, and then cut it. So if I mess it up, there's really no going back. So wish me luck, and let's get into the back tab. After laying down the Galactus stencil, I traced around it with a pen so that I could have an outline to cut around. This was by far the scariest part of this whole project because there was absolutely no going back. Once the back tab was cut, there was no fixing it. But luckily enough, the Galactab came out exactly how I was picturing it in my head, and I was really happy with the results. Next, onto the painting. I taped off the entire upper portion of the Jordan and laid down a light blue on the bottom to mimic their suits in the movie. I also repainted the tops of these wings the same exact color. I decided to paint the back tab and the small midsole portion a darker blue to give the shoe some contrast. Then I removed the stencils from around the sneaker, including the Fantastic Four logo and the custom Jordan spell out, replicating the Marvel logos that they've been using on their promo material. To represent the Silver Surfer, I painted the Jumpman on the back tab metallic silver. Final details I added were 4 swooshes on each side of the shoes to symbolize the 4 team members. I made a flame swoosh for the Human Torch, stretchy swoosh for Mr. Fantastic, a rock swoosh for the Thing, and a clear glossy swoosh for the Invisible Woman. And the final shoe is for my most anticipated movie of the year, which is Superman. I'm gonna turn these beat Jordan 4s that I got for $25 from Goodwill, and I'm gonna turn these into a Superman custom, make it look like his very vibrant blue and red suit with some yellow hits. Let's get into the final custom. As you probably guessed, the first step again is to prep the shoe with sandpaper and acetone. This also includes the midsole panels because they are very cracked and need to be repainted. And this is how the shoe looks fully prepped and stripped of all its paint. I first used blue Angelus leather dye as a base coat around the entire leather upper. I then taped off all the portions I didn't want painted and laid down a bright yellow paint on the bottom half of the midsole. I then mixed this blue that matches Superman's suit in the new movie and painted the entire upper with this light blue. And I used a paintbrush to hand paint in the areas that I couldn't reach with the airbrush. Since this new Superman suit has a lot of line details on it, I wanted to incorporate that onto the sneaker by painting all of the edges with a slightly darker blue. And I also wanted to tie in the black wing accents from the original Fire Red Jordan design, so I repainted the top portion of the midsole with black paint. Small detail I wanted to add was the gradient effect used in a lot of the Superman promos, so I recreated a gradient on the small portion of the midsole. And the final detail are these custom-made Superman tongue tags that I heat pressed on to mimic the iconic Dornbecker Jordan 4s. And here are the final products, the 4 shoes for the most anticipated movies of 2025. Let's go through them one by one. First, we'll start with the Air Jordan 1 How to Train Your Dragon Toothless Custom. I think this is a really simple custom, but it came out really clean, especially with the bright green custom dyed outsoles. And my favorite detail is definitely the mismatched back tabs. So I think these actually came out pretty cool. Pretty simple custom, but overall very clean. Custom Jurassic World Rebirth D-Rex Air Force Ones made out of a completely destroyed Air Force One. I actually really like the way these came out. Muted green with the brown and the scaling across, like the airbrush scaling across the shoe. Really looks good together, especially with that coffee dyed midsole. My favorite detail has to be the laces. The overlaid laces look so cool on this shoe. I don't know what it is about it. It definitely started out a disaster, but I think it turned out pretty good. And I actually really like the way that these turned out. The next shoe is for Fantastic Four, and what a better shoe to do it on than a Jordan 4. So this is the Air Jordan 4 Fantastic Four First Steps Custom, and that blue is just so good. That is such a clean looking blue. There's so many details packed in this shoe, and I tried to make them all stand out just enough. My all-time favorite detail has to be the Galact tab. The back tab customized to look like Galactus's silhouette. It could have went so wrong, but it actually came out pretty decent. I love the way that it's just pretty subtle enough you wouldn't even notice that it was cut until you look at the back and it's just the big Galactus looming over the entire shoe. I think that it turned out pretty good. For my most anticipated movie of the year, it is for James Gunn's Superman of 2025, and I love how vibrant these are. If you look at all the promotional material for the movie, it's all very vibrant colors, very different from the past couple movies that they've done. The bright yellow midsole and the bright yellow laces really make the shoe pop. And I honestly really love this detail. On the little part of the midsole, I put that gradient from yellow to red to blue to red again that they use in a lot of the promotional material. Obviously, the biggest detail of the shoe is the custom Superman tongue tags. Really love the way these turned out with the new Superman logo, and if you could tell on the inside, they actually have a little Jumpman. So love the way that these came out as well. But you let me know in the comments, which of these 4 shoes do you prefer? Which are your favorites? What's your favorite details of any of them? And what movie you're most anticipated for? I think I'm still leaning towards Superman. Fantastic Four is definitely a close second. But let me know in the comments which ones you like the most, which movie you're looking forward to the most. And until next time, this has been Gio from The Kick Fix, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.